Hey guys, Swanny here. Welcome to a kind of a different sort of video, a special video, I guess you could call it. Uh, I've been getting a lot of questions on, how do I make my videos and Transcend look so good. So I kind of wanted to make a little tutorial, I guess. Not even really a tutorial, just kind of showing you guys what I do at least, and then maybe you guys can incorporate that into your videos, or there's some stuff that I don't even use that might help you, and I'll show you guys that as well as we get later on in the video. So it's gonna be like a three-part video. It's gonna start with me obviously showing you my settings that I currently use, and then I'll kind of show a side-by-side comparison of what the different options you could use are, based on how good your PC is and what you can run. And then from there, I'll kind of show you what we can do after the fact, after you record your gameplay and you're in the editing software. At that point, you could add different brightnesses and contrasts and stuff like that. They help maybe help make your video look better, after the fact, after you've already played. And then last but not least, there's some other things you can do to modify your game so that you changes those same kind of aspects as far as brightness and contrast that you can do. It's kind of a mod that you can put in your game so you can see it while you're actually playing. I don't run that. I've had issues getting it installed, but I'll show you guys where it's located and link it in the description and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get started. If you go into settings here, I'll show you guys just a basic rundown of what I'm doing here. So I have everything set at custom. These are all presets you can do. You can start at the lowest and you can move your way up. My suggestions for when you're maybe first getting this game is just kind of play with settings. So try doing tests of the same scenario in different sort of settings. See what you're getting for frame rates. See what you're getting as far as what can you run that's that you're happy with, but also getting enough performance to actually play the game. Like I said, when I first started playing Train Sim, I was playing on my laptop from my work, and I had everything at the very, very lowest setting on that chart right there. It was at lowest, and I was getting like 9 frames per second. So that's a good sign that your PC is not going to work for this sim. But since upgrading my computer, I've been able to actually max everything out. So everyone's computer is different. My suggestion is just kind of tweak with everything and mess with everything until you can find something that works for you. But as far as my videos go, I'll show you exactly what I use to get my quality of videos. So we're running, like I said, we're running custom. Our resolution's at 920 by 1080. That's the max resolution you can get. Full screen is what I usually run. I haven't really messed around with that as far as going, windowed or borderless. I'm not really sure if that really makes a difference. I don't think it does. I think it's more for if you're trying to look at other things while you're playing the game. So I just leave it at full screen. Dynamic lighting, dynamic clouds, I keep those checked. I think that it kind of just adds an extra little bit of immersion to the game. It's kind of like 3D weather versus 2D weather. So some people prefer it, some people don't. I keep it checked. Brightness, you can adjust stuff. I keep mine, I think this is actually default. I haven't really touched it. And you can adjust your brightness how you feel is necessary. Going to the advanced section, we'll be looking at some more advanced settings. Obviously, you still have the option to change your master details here. Anti-aliasing, this is one where you're going to have to tweak around with it a little bit. So, like I was saying earlier, when we test this out, I'll be showing you different anti-aliasing setups, and this is what really affects your frame rates and your quality the most, I believe. So I'll show you all the different settings here. You can start with off, you can go to FXAA, then you start getting to FXAA plus MSAA, and so on and so forth, getting all the way up to SSAA. Now, I believe that SSAA is obviously the highest quality you can go. For the purpose of today, I'll show you guys the difference between going the max 3x3 SSAA versus this FXAA times plus the 8 times MSAA. So these are the two max settings. You can see here, this is maxed out on MSAA, this is maxed out on SSAA. So I'm going to show you guys both of those so you guys can see what you guys think as far as, is there actually a difference in quality that's worth using? What's the frame rates look like, etc. So we'll be looking at that in a little bit. Next, if you go to the texture filtering, I believe this is called anisotropic. I don't know, anisotropic times 8. I just run this maxed out. I don't necessarily know what it means, texture filtering. I imagine this is obviously going to get you the most clear textures would be my assumption. I don't know that for sure, so don't hold me to that. But I'm just saying I run everything. Like I said, I'm running everything's maxed out. Scenery quality, if you hover over these, it kind of tells you what you're looking at. So it says defining the complexity and quality of the scenery. So obviously, how the textures look on your scenery, how they maybe cast shadows, how maybe how they look from a distance and stuff like that. Obviously, scenery density. This is probably the second most important thing, other than anti-aliasing. One thing that I noticed when I was playing on my old computer was when this bar is not turned up all the way, it actually makes you not render some of the assets. So, for instance, I had someone even comment, I'm missing stations on one of my routes, and I said, is the scenery density turned all the way up? And after changing that, his stuff started populating. For me, when I would play, I'd have like the signals that would be held up by those overhead signals, like on the US routes, those would just be kind of hanging in midair. They wouldn't even have the scaffolding and the actual metal piece that was holding it up. It would only be just floating signals in midair, and stuff like that. Stuff that would just randomly be missing that, for instance, bridges or areas where there's elevation and there's dirt and stuff like that underneath it. That's helped maybe level it out or stuff like that. That stuff was missing, so you'd have floating tracks. So there's stuff like that having this bar all the way up will help fix. So I suggest keeping that one up if you can. View distance, obviously, how far you can see. Shadow quality, what you're going to render your shadows off of locomotives, buildings, clouds, water, etc. And then you have the water quality, and I don't turn that one all the way up just because there's not a lot of routes that utilize water, that have water in it, and when they do, it's not something I'm really looking at. So it's not really a huge factor for me. I keep it up somewhat, but I know that this is also a heavy frame hitter, so this might be the first thing that you would drop down if you're trying to gain some frames. All right, we'll go to the next section. These are all just different little add-ons you can do that help with, again, immersion and stuff like that. So this is, just toggling the display of maybe grass that moves in the winds. I'm guessing that's what it sounds like. Blooms, toggle light intensity moving between areas of contrast. So maybe this helps with like the blending of lights when you're going from something dark to something white. So it's not like a huge difference. Maybe it blends it smoothly so it looks more realistic. Depth of field, obviously, how blurry stuff is when it's farther away from you. So if you have that on, maybe it helps keep things more clear. And then the headlight flares. So that's like if you've seen in some of the videos, when the train comes up to you, you'll see like that kind of like that beam of light that kind of shines off the headlight. And that's kind of what that is. I like it and I don't. I might actually, I'm going to turn that off because sometimes it just looks unrealistic to me, but that's just an opinion. So we'll go ahead and save those. So that's just a basic look at some of my settings, what I use. Now I'm going to jump into the game and I'll show you guys what the different, we're going to go based on, like I said, different anti-aliasing. We're going to test this setting and this setting. So I'll show you guys each one and show you guys what it looks like, and we'll kind of talk about it as we go. So we got a side-by-side comparison here of the two different anti-alias settings. On the left, we got FXAA plus 8 times MSAA. On the right, we got FXAA plus 3 times 3 SSAA. The one on the right is supposed to be the better of the two settings. And you'll see here, as we're on the outside view, up close, they don't necessarily look too different. The one on the right might be a little bit clearer, but the major difference that I noticed when I was testing the two different settings was stuff that was off in the distance, how clear it was, how bright it was, how colorful it was. And you'll notice on the scene on the left, you might be able to see on this, but when you're playing full screen, you can really tell. Stuff in the distance just really doesn't come into focus until you're getting right up next to it. And it's kind of frustrating. It's not terrible, but you can noticeably tell a difference by the settings on the right, that pretty much all the time everything's completely sharp and in focus, no matter how far away it is from you. So that's honestly a really good added bonus for the ones on the right. There's also differences like in the brightness and the colors, and maybe even a little bit in the sharpness. The one on the right is just a little bit better on that. Like I said, up close it's not as noticeable, But you do, if you look at the frames here, you do take a little bit of a hit if you're going with the higher setting. I tend to get about 35 to 40 when I was running with the higher settings, and I was getting 45 to 50 with the lower settings. Obviously, if your computer can handle anything over 30 frames, that's decent. You might be able to get away with a higher setting. But for people that want a more optimized game, the one on the left might suit better for you. So it's kind of a little side-by-side comparison of this. I wanted to show you guys firsthand kind of what the difference was, and you guys can make adjustments if you wanted to, but that's kind of what I wanted to show you. All right, so the next area I want to talk about is going and doing stuff after your gameplay in like a editing software. I use Movie Studio Platinum. You can use this with pretty much any software out there. And these are just certain effects that I'm adding, such as like brightness and contrast, broadcasting color, sharpness, anything like that. So you can see here there's some sliding bars. I can adjust brightness and contrast center. And you can kind of just mess around and tweak with things and try to get the right feel for what you're trying to get. So if it's bright outside, you want to do something a little bit darker. And if it's dark outside, you want to do something a little bit brighter. I have some presets here. These are some that I made. One's a little bit brighter than the other. But these are just ones that I've used in the past. You can see here's kind of an example of it, but you can already tell right off the bat it's a lot brighter, a lot more, has a lot more color than say this version right here, which is the actual original video. So you can see how much of a difference it actually makes. And I think it honestly, it helps so much. You can see here, we'll look another area here. So this is, the original two that I made. And I went ahead and made a third one as well because I thought that this certain scene was a little bit too bright for those other ones, and I wanted to darken it down a little bit. So this is how it looks with this. I actually added some sharpness here as well. Occasionally I do this from time to time depending on the situation, but it adds just a little bit more sharpness than the original game has. So in the cockpit here, you can, or not the cockpit, the cab, you can see, I'm playing too much flight sim. You can see that there's, it just looks a lot crisper. It looks a lot brighter. The colors are popping, and everything just looks like a million times better than it did when we were just playing the game without any sort of enhancements. So this is something you guys can do. I highly recommend doing it for your videos. It really helps, and it's really easy to do as well. Okay, the last thing I wanted to share with you guys was the Reshade Mod. This is Alpine Freight's Reshade Mod. It's available on railworksamerica.com. This basically does the same thing that we do in Vegas or in the editing softwares, and it basically tweaks the contrasts and the brightness and the colors of the game, but it actually does it in-game versus post-game when you're doing through editing. So this is all actually hardwired into your game. This is available, like I said, on Railworks America. I'll put the link in the description. But it's pretty much it's pretty neat. I tried to do it. I had trouble installing it, but here's the link right here. You can click on that. It's actually just a profile for the actual bigger program called Reshade, and that is available on MediaFire. I believe the link is in there as well. Yeah, right here on this link right here. And you can go download that, and then you just kind of download his preset into it, and it should work, hopefully. I had issues with it, but I think it's a pretty neat thing. You can see here some pictures on it. And if you want that added immersion that you get when you're doing the editing, but you want it in game, go ahead and give this thing a shot. If it works for you, awesome. I've seen a lot of videos with it, and it looks pretty cool. So I just want to share it with you guys. All right, well, that's going to do it for me on this video. I hope that this helped you guys, maybe answer some of the questions you guys had, as well as share some of the techniques that I use to make the videos look the way they do. Again, I think a lot of it is really just tweaking the settings and getting it to work for what works best for you guys and your systems. But it's definitely just a matter of just testing stuff out as the best you can. If you guys like the video, be sure to leave a like. I can do more tutorials like this for other things as well. I actually kind of enjoyed making this video. I think it's pretty helpful. But if you guys, again, liked it, leave a like. Be sure to go check out the channel. You can see some of this stuff in action, a lot of my train sim videos, if you haven't already done that. You can also subscribe. I always appreciate that. That's just that kind of lets you know whenever I'm making new videos. And other than that, that's going to pretty much do it for me. I hope to get some more train sim videos out soon. But in the meantime, be sure to go check out the ones that are already out there, especially the train sims with real sounds. Those are always pretty neat to watch. And that's going to be it for me. I will catch you guys later. Take care.